Who is Maxima, and what is she doing in the new Superman Lex Luthor movie, Man of Tomorrow? Well, I want to talk about it. I want to tell you what the deal with Maxima usually is, how I think they'll play her in this movie, and then I want to talk about a specific story from the comics that features both Brainiac, the main antagonist for this movie, and Maxima, along with a bunch of other characters. I also want to use that opportunity to speculate on the other character that is apparently going to be added to the Man of Tomorrow cast. We'll talk about all that later. Also, my cat Mortimer is at the window chittering at birds, which is what he does when I make videos about Superman now because of Hawk Girl. Reminds him of Hawk Girl. All right, he got done with the birds. Okay, so a little context. The movie Man of Tomorrow is coming out in 2027. It is going to be, much like the Superman movie, written and directed by James Gunn. It has been pitched to us as a sort of sequel to Superman, and it's going to feature Superman and Lex Luthor potentially teaming up. We don't have that much information about it. They're not planning to shoot it until April of this year, so they will probably start announcing who else is in the cast, but for now, this is the first main character we've gotten outside of Brainiac, who we know is going to be played by Lars Eidinger. And there were rumors for a while that James Gunn was casting a tough warrior woman for this movie, which led a lot of people online to assume that James Gunn was finally casting a Wonder Woman, which makes sense because that is a good way to describe Wonder Woman. She's a popular character. Why not throw her in here? Apparently, they're working on a Wonder Woman movie. Introduce Wonder Woman in Superman's second movie. It didn't work so well the first time, but maybe it'll work this time. It worked well for her, but not for the overall movie. Just don't give her a thumb drive with like pictures of all the other characters and then we'll be good. But anyway, James Gunn said, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not casting Wonder Woman. We're not casting Batman for this movie because a lot of people are like, oh, is Batman going to show up too? So we were like, okay. And then we didn't think too much about it until Nexus Point News reported the other day that the character that they were casting is actually going to be in this movie. It's just not going to be Wonder Woman. It is instead going to be a character named Maxima. And that is both interesting just because Maxima's kind of fun. Some people like Maxima. And also interesting because Maxima plus Brainiac equals a very specific story that now we have kind of heard, although I don't know how confirmed this has been, Man of Tomorrow is going to take some inspiration from. All right, so here's the story with Maxima. A somewhat recent character in the grand scheme of things. Like Brainiac's super old. Brainiac first appeared in the late 50s, whereas Maxima first appeared 30 years later in the late 80s. But she is a member of Superman's Rogues Gallery that people like, just one of those characters. It was a bad guy and then good guy and all that, and they changed a lot of things about her recently. But here's the story for the original Maxima, which is, I think, what they'll go with. She's the queen of a planet called Almerac. She has a bunch of superpowers. She's strong, she can fly, and also she's a psychic, so she can move things telekinetically, she can read minds, she can control minds. As far as looks are concerned, she's traditionally a tall, red-headed, supermodel looking character. And not just supermodel character the way that like all women are drawn in comics, but like extra supermodel-y even for this. And the main thing that people know her from is she ventures out into the galaxy to find Superman because she believes Superman is the only being powerful enough to be worthy of being her husband. So this is one of those characters, and I don't know what this trope is called, but it has been done a couple of times. There's other versions of this I can think of. The two big ones are Thundra from Marvel Comics, who is one of the Femizons, and then Lady Hellbender, also from Marvel Comics, more recent, but these are like tough warrior women from space who usually are very into one of the heroes, but the hero doesn't really return any affection, so they sort of become obsessed. So they become a villain, sometimes they try to kidnap the guy, usually they end up reformed. I would say this isn't exactly Thundra's story, but like Lady Hellbender is very that's especially in the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. Instead of being into totally awesome Hulk like she is in the books, she's into Drax. But Thundra's one of those characters who shows up, she's like, I want to mate with you. And Superman, besides traditionally being in a relationship with Lois Lane, is also just sort of kind of embarrassed by this because he's the Boy Scout. He's not used to this kind of thing. Like I said, eventually Maxima becomes a good guy. She joins the Justice League, and then they rebooted her, and I believe that version of the character was into Supergirl. But then I also think that's one of those reboots where it turns out the Maxima we were just talking about, the original Maxima, is another character that existed in the past. Like she's like an ancestor of that or something. But it doesn't matter. I think we're going to get the first version of Maxima, which is like a physical match for Superman who wants to marry him. Also, one of the things that's interesting about Maxima is like she could presumably have a child with Superman in a way that like nobody else could, just because she's also about as strong as Superman. There's a little bit of like, you and me, we're on the same level. We're not like these other guys, so obviously we should be together. The character of Maxima is also sort of a play on Jean Grey, specifically like Dark Phoenix era Jean Grey, because A, kind of looks like her, B, she's got psychic powers, but C, she's like a cosmic figure who goes from planet to planet, takes what she wants, right? Like that's kind of how Dark Phoenix Jean Grey is played in the books. Most people probably know Maxima from a couple of things. Either you know her from the comics, or you know her from her episode on Superman the Animated Series, which is very memorable. In that episode, for whatever reason, they made her costume into more of like a Dragon Ball Z armor, which is fun. She also appeared on Smallville and did the usual Maxima stuff, showed up, tried to find a mate suitable of marrying the Queen of Almerac, and then ended up being into Superman. She was also on the Supergirl show, but I haven't seen that one. But like, those are really her big appearances. She's never been in a movie, but like partially just because like that archetype of like the big tough woman who's into the guy who's like, I don't know, I don't think I could be her. Like that's a trope that appeals to many people. So that's all we got though. We don't know who is playing Maxima. It's a tough role to cast, specifically because, and I'm running into a similar problem thinking about Big Barda, another character who they're rumored to be casting for an animated show, but also she may appear in live action. Is like Big Barda, Maxima are supposed to be very big. Like they're supposed to be somewhat muscular, Barda more than Maxima, but like tall, like physically imposing. They are supposed to look down on pretty much everybody but Superman. And that's like the, you know, how they see him. There's not a lot of actors that are that tall. You know, there's like Elizabeth Debicki, she's very tall. Gwendolyn Christie, she's very tall. And there's some others, but I do think some of the actors that people want for like Big Barda tend to be like professional wrestler types or even just actors. The one that comes up all the time is Katie O'Brien. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe she could do it, but she's not particularly large. And I'm sure you could CGI some of this, but on the other hand, like, I think for the physicality of the role, for the acting, it would be good to get an actor who's actually large. And that's a problem. Most of the professional wrestlers that people are familiar with are pretty small. Now, could Maxima be 5'3"? Sure, I don't think it's like a complete deal breaker, but I also think with the exception of Anthony Carrigan, I think James Gunn's casting so far in the DCU has been pretty straightforward. So I think he will get someone who kind of looks like Maxima. But then the other limiting factor here is Maxima is a redhead. All of those characters I named, by the way, Maxima, Thundra, Lady Hellbender, all redheads. It is a part of the trope. They are fiery and exciting and passionate and dangerous. Does the actor have to be redheaded? Obviously not, but you know, they could. And I do think James Gunn has one really obvious good pick here. Someone that he's familiar with and someone that fills most of those roles is Karen Gillan, aka Nebula from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. She's both a redhead and pretty tall, and as we've seen in Guardians of the Galaxy, but also like the Jumanji movies she is in, Karen Gillan can be an action star. If I had to cast somebody right now, I would pick her. The other actor that I kind of like for this role, like if we are picking actors who do not necessarily have to be tall and do not necessarily have to be redheads, because that is somewhat limiting. I've seen her thrown around for Wonder Woman, and I think that a lot of the Wonder Womans could do this. But I don't know, Adria Arjona might be fun here, just because she is also tough, she is also an action star. And I don't know, I guess movies like Hitman, that movie specifically sort of sells her as kind of like a femme fatale type character, like a sexy, dangerous woman. She also, I believe, is followed by James Gunn on Instagram, and she is also, I believe, currently dating Jason Momoa, who is Lobo in the new DCU. Which is another reason I think Adria Arjona would be fun, is that in the Superman the Animated Series episode, I believe Maxima ends up getting with Lobo. Like, that's how Superman solves this problem. So I'm not saying it needs to be her for that reason, but like, I don't know, she could be a good addition to this cast. She's worked with James Gunn before. One of her first movies was, I think, was the Belko Experiment, which he wrote, I think produced. I'm honestly surprised she hasn't shown up in anything yet or been rumored for anything yet. And people, again, really like her for Wonder Woman. I don't disagree that she'd be a fun Wonder Woman, but I think she could also work here. But okay, so that's who Maxima is. Learning that Maxima is in this story, and also potentially a secondary antagonist working with Brainiac, reminds people that know about the comics, and to be fair, I did not know about this story before reading it just now, of a Superman story from the early 90s called Panic in the Sky. And if you're familiar with the name, that's also the name of the Justice League Unlimited episode where Power Girl, or whatever they call her on that show, and all the clones go and fight everybody on the Watchtower. But Panic in the Sky, even though it is a story that's kind of late in Brainiac's history, like he's met Superman, he clearly has a relationship with Superman, it's a pretty simple Brainiac story, and then if you tweak one or two things, this could be the first time they've met, and this could be like a very simple Brainiac scheme. Basically, Brainiac takes over Warworld, which is this big kind of gladiator coliseum planet, a little bit like Sakaar in Ragnarok, although like way worse. More like Sakaar in the comics, honestly, where everybody's a slave and they all have to do battle. It's traditionally led by a character named Mongol, but at the time, he's dead or deposed or something, I can't remember, but Brainiac is in charge. So Maxima's working with Brainiac because he took over Almerac. and also he's kind of mind controlling her because Brainiac can do that. He has this other guy named Drugar who fought Superman on Warworld and really wants a rematch. He's very tough. And then Brainiac sort of accidentally recruits Matrix, which is a shape-shifted version of, at the point when they meet him in this story, it's Superman, but then they turn into Supergirl. And this was this very complicated way of doing Supergirl post-crisis. And I'm not going to go through the whole story, but at this point, she's kind of an amnesiac, brainwashed Supergirl. Another thing that I'm sure you've already noticed just by looking at it, one of the all-time worst Brainiac looks, this mustache goatee thing. Is not good. So in this story, Brainiac sends his Skull ship, which is the traditional Brainiac ship, has all kinds of weapons and stuff, just sends it to Metropolis to fight Superman. Superman fights it. It's a pretty tough fight. There's like robots in it and stuff. But then once he gets to the center of it to beat up Brainiac, it turns out Brainiac's not there. And it's just like, oh, I wanted to mess with you, Superman, because I'm going to do something even worse. And that's when the characters figure out that Brainiac is bringing Warworld to Earth and is going to try to steal our cities. So what Superman does here, because he's like, oh, Brainiac's a big problem, is he recruits a bunch of superheroes. A supervillain or two, but mostly all the other superheroes, because at this point, there is no Justice League. We're doing Justice League International, so he gets all the Justice League guys back. Batman, Wonder Woman gets the JLI guys back. Pretty much like all the popular DC characters, besides for some reason any of the Magic characters. I don't remember seeing like Zatanna, Constantine, Etrigan, any of them. There is Dr. Fate though, so we get Dr. Fate. So Superman takes all these guys, splits them up into two teams. There is the home team. Those are Batman and some of the other heroes that can't fly or breathe in space and probably won't be able to fight a big robot, but can protect Earth from the people of Warworld that Brainiac is just going to send to mess up Earth. And then there's the away team, which is led by Superman. It's got characters like Shazam, Wonder Woman, The Flash, some new gods, the Metal Men, for some reason, Deathstroke. And it's not just like Deathstroke is also there. It's like Superman recruits Deathstroke very early and is like, hey, I need you to help me form a team because you were in the military before. So can you help me make a team to fight these guys? So Deathstroke's a big player in this book. You have pretty much everybody on the JLI. Fire Ice, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Guy Gardner, Kilowog, Mon-El. And there's even like a telepathic alien named Double X who's a big part of the story. And they all go fight Brainiac on Warworld. And eventually they turn the Supergirl and Drugar and Maxima against Brainiac. They all fight Brainiac. It's a big giant fight. Everybody's fighting the whole book. And then it's over and they beat him. They mostly beat him when Maxima turns on Brainiac, and then she's able to fry his brain. The new gods, Orion, Lightray, Metron, they take Brainiac, I believe. And then Orion, Maxima, a couple other characters take over Warworld, and they're the new people in charge of Warworld. And Warworld is like the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. I'm pretty sure either Mr. Miracle or Orion says that Darkseid doesn't even mess around with Warworld because it's such a mess. Here's what I think that will mean for this movie. Since we don't know what Warworld is in the new DCU, we're probably not going to do any Warworld stuff between now and the next movie. And even if we did, like, who cares? I think you'd want to start a little bit smaller if you can. I imagine Warworld will just be the Skull ship. And this is just going to be a very classic Brainiac plot. Vril Dox, he'll show up and he'll be like, I want to steal all the cities to study them or to preserve them or whatever it is I'm interested in this story. And I have these people helping me, including the Queen of Almerac, who's named Maxima, and she is going to be able to beat up Superman better than you would expect. Because obviously Superman's traditionally really, really strong, but like Maxima is a physical match for him. And yeah, Superman is going to need to form a team, kind of a proto-Justice League, not quite the Justice Gang. And it is going to be as many of the heroes from the other movies as the actors will come back for a little cameo. And we will probably have two teams. We'll probably be Superman, Supergirl, maybe Lobo if he's around for this. They'll probably go fight Brainiac on the ship. And then Peacemaker, Vigilante, some of the creature commandos, they'll probably fight like Brainiac robots on Earth. And then by that point, you'll have other characters like the Green Lanterns from the Lanterns show, Hal and John, assuming they both survived the show. You also have the Justice Gang, which now includes Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho. And yeah, they're all going to fight Brainiac in his big skull ship with all kinds of weapons, and also Maxima and probably a bunch of robots. Now, like I said, we have heard that there is one more hero that has not been cast yet. It is not Batman and it's not Wonder Woman, according to James Gunn. It makes me go, well, okay, so let's look at Panic in the Sky. Obviously, we got the bad guys. We got Brainiac, we got Maxima. We have a Supergirl, but I don't think they'll do what they were doing with her there. I feel like she'll just be a member of the good guy team. But as far as the good guys in that book, who plays a big role? big Superman book, obviously, Superman's main character. Surprisingly large amount of Guy Gardner, possibly because like he has a superpower that's very useful, and also partially because he's just running his mouth constantly. Like I said, Deathstroke, for whatever reason, is counted among the heroes here. Then I would say like Shazam gets a lot of screen time in this book. The New Gods, Orion, Light Ray, Metron, they get a lot of screen time in this book. And then the only other character that gets a lot of play in this book, besides Double X, who I don't think we'll see in here, is a character named Gangbuster, who is a pretty obscure DC Comics street level character. I mostly know him from the book One Star Squadron, which I love, but he was also here. I guess you also have Guardian and some of the other Cadmus adjacent characters. So like, knowing that we have a Superman and we have a Guy Gardner, are any of those characters likely additions here? Do any of them make sense? If we were just going to add one, too, because it's like, if you're going to add all of them, then yeah, add all of them, whatever. But if it's like, we can only do one, you feel like it's got to be significant. It's got to be someone who's going to matter in this story, potentially in the future. Like the Flash is involved in this story, but like, I doubt the Flash would be a character they would introduce into this. Since we're not doing War World, I don't think we're going to do Double X. And because the JLI is something James Gunn really likes, I could see this being where we introduce one of the JLI characters. Mr. Miracle could make his first appearance here. Big Barda could make her first appearance here. This could be where Booster Gold shows up for the first time. It seems like the wheels have kind of stopped spinning on the show, but the character would make sense to put him here. You could also put Jaime Reyes in here as Blue Beetle. The Blue Beetle Ted Kord is in this story, but like, Jaime is the Blue Beetle that seems to exist in the new DCU. And it could be a character that's just not involved in this story at all, right? Someone else that James Gunn just wants to introduce. But assuming it's a character who is involved in this story, or at least, you know, had some sort of connection to the original Panic in the Sky, I feel like what it needs to be, probably another space character. I imagine there's going to need to be a space character that plays the role the Hulk plays in Infinity War, who comes to Earth and it's like, hey, we gotta watch out, Brainiac's coming. I think he's maybe even too big of a part for this, and especially in a story like this, Brainiac can maybe be about preserving cities and knowledge but destroying planets. It doesn't feel like it would be crazy to put Martian Manhunter in here. He's not active in this story, but he is another alien, and he, like Superman, is the last surviving son of Mars, not counting the white Martians, but like Martian Manhunter, you got some interesting parallels to Superman, and he could be someone who, like Brainiac, wiped out his civilization before, and now he's trying to warn Earth. I would say like a lot of people. In fact, I would say like the majority opinion, the same way that I think like Jason Isaacs is the Magneto. I do think we have in pop culture, especially because of a recent show, a Green Lantern that just everybody wants. And I'm on board. And I think like when that happens, I don't think James Gunn would say like no. The same way that Jason Momoa is playing Lobo, and it's like obviously that's a no-brainer. This feels like that, but the actor Chris Chalk, who plays Dick Halloran on Welcome to Derry, has been the new very popular fan cast for Jon Jones, Martian Manhunter, and I like it. I think he'd be a good Martian Manhunter. So like, I'm not saying he's definitely going to show up in this story, and it's James Gunn, so he could be like, I want to do Gangbuster. Gangbuster's in this story, let's do him. Could be the Metal Men. I don't think it'll be Shazam, and if it is, I feel like they'll recast Shazam, which is weird, so that's why I don't think they'll do that. Captain Atom is a character that's going to show up in Creature Commandos Season 2. He's involved in this story a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. This feels like the right story to throw Martian Manhunter into the mix. But we'll see. I'm excited to see Maxima. I'm excited to see what they do with Maxima. Do they make her like a gladiator? Do they do like the original kind of supermodel version of Maxima? I doubt it, but they could. Let me know who you would cast as Maxima, because I think it is a very like limiting role in terms of what you would expect for this character. But yeah, I'm glad they're making some moves. Like I said, apparently this starts filming in April 2026, so soon. It'll be interesting because if this releases next year, it could feel like a Justice League movie, which means that could release the same year as Secret Wars, which would be like, that's big. Also, the Batman Part 2 is filming soon. It's like next year is going to be huge. And I feel like this year is Disney's year, but maybe next year will be Warner Brothers and DC's year to take over. I don't know. Plus, like when it comes to Disney, they can fail. You never know. I mean, they've had so many flop eras. I actually watched a video about it by Lindsay Ellis called Let's Compare and Contrast Disney's Flop Eras, talking about this enormous company, Disney, with all of this history and the ups and downs that comes with. In the video, Lindsay looks at the downs mostly, because we remember the ups from Disney, like the golden age, flying high, like hit after hit after hit. But every so often, things fall apart and Disney needs to reset. So in this video, Lindsay looks at how all those different periods of Disney failure came to pass. And like, if we've learned anything, it just goes to show you, any movie can be a success and any movie can be a failure. It's super funny, and you can watch it exclusively on this video's sponsor, Nebula. You guys have heard me talk about Nebula before. It is a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. A bunch of us video essayists, and I don't like call myself a content creator, but like content creators got together and were like, hey, these platforms we have to work with, they're great, but they have some problems. And the big one is we wanted to just make great videos, give them to you guys. We wanted to make a nice, clean, well-organized place where you can go to watch all of our videos. They all go up early, so every Nando V Movies video and Nando Cut video go up early. They're all ad-free. You can download them to your phone, which is a feature I don't hear nearly enough people talking about, but it is incredibly useful. Like if you don't want to have to eat up all your data or deal with the Wi-Fi at the gym or something, download some videos, you'll have them with you. Also, this is a thing that wasn't a concern when we started Nebula, but has become a concern when talking about the other platforms is, I don't know about you, but when I jump onto other platforms, I am flooded with AI. We were talking about it just now in regards to the Thor trailer. Like, it is everywhere, and it makes finding information, especially useful information, really, really difficult because you don't know if it is being made by a person, and if it's not being made by a person, A, you don't want to support it because AI is bad, but B, like if you're trying to learn something or get some information, AI just makes stuff up. So like I have gone to so many videos trying to learn things about comic book characters that I kind of know some stuff about, but don't know everything about. Like, oh, I want to get brought up to speed on like the full story of Cable or something like that. And just immediately you hear something, you're like, that's not true. Oh, this is AI. Okay. Yeah. Ignore that. The videos on Nebula are all made by real people. And that didn't used to have to be a selling point, but now I think it might be the best selling point. There's also all kinds of cool videos you can only find on Nebula. Like Lindsay makes videos almost exclusively for Nebula. One of her most recent videos was about Bluey adults, and the one after that was about dash cam footage, so it really covers a pretty wide spectrum of things. Then you've got short films like Patrick Williams' Dinner Plan, or series like Maggie Mae Fish's Amy's Dead End Dreamhouse. And you have what we haven't like fully announced, but will be coming out sometime next year, our show Subliminal. It's our first like dramatic series. I wrote an episode. I think it's pretty good. I've seen parts of it now because it's like coming together and been edited and all that, and like it looks great. I can't wait for you guys to see it. If you want to support us, give us more opportunities to do cool stuff like that, and you want to see our videos early, ad-free, download them and see other creators on Nebula, because all of your favorite creators and your next few favorite creators are on Nebula right now. Like there's something for everybody. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is $60 for a whole year. That is $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, or the link in the description, or you use the QR code, you can get a year of Nebula for just $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. And if you want to check Nebula out on your own, sign up for a 3-day trial. I guarantee you will find something you like. Again, that is go.nebula.tv/thenandocut.